with obviously the Power franchise. But what I'm getting at, DJs too have a big part of New York culture, have always had their competitions, their histories. And I know this is very familiar to your passion in life. So you take it from here about what you think DJ K. Slay meant to the hip hop world.
DJ K. Slay was basically, you could make him a landmark because through all the nonsense that's going on in the rap world and everything, he put out 2 songs over the past couple of years that brought the old school hip hop rappers and the new school hip hop rappers together. 50 MCs and 100 MCs.
Yeah.
And it represented the East Coast, the West Coast, the South. Everybody came in. You're talking from Big Daddy Kane, to Ludacris. Everyone was in it. And he kept that bond with hip hop, like the pure hip hop. He kept it strong. And he made sure it stayed out there where people didn't forget where it came from and how it got there and what the roots were about. He brought skills. You just didn't get on his music and just say anything. You had to actually show some skill. You had to be thorough. Your vernacular had to be on point. It wasn't about hooks and punchlines. But let's see how you roll. I want to hear what type of skill you got. And you couldn't just have your own beat. We wanted to hear how you rocked over the same beat everybody else was rocking over.
And that was
it showed
yes. That to your point, that's a primary go-to. A lot of New York mixtapes. I mean, even going back, I wouldn't call them rivals, but contemporaries, and maybe on a level rivals, because I know for a little while, K. Slay and DJ Clue had a little bit of heat. Funk Flex, back in the day when he was the main source for any New York mixtape, they were a little more commercialized but like you had Bad Boy flipping on, Wu-Tang beats.
Mm-hmm.
Always a staple of New York radio, and what I like is that something that could have turned potentially violent that fortunately didn't. But after they made peace, mainly, past the death of Chris Lighty, 50 Cent, Fat Joe were able to be grown men, squash that beef.
Mm-hmm.
But what I enjoyed about that was that K. Slay brought them together a couple of years ago to do a track. And I think, from the tragedies that happened in the mid-90s, it's very important because, just like Q said when he came on here that Giants history is cyclical. Hip hop history has had a propensity to be cyclical too, and not the stuff that we want to see because, at the end of the day, regardless of whatever beefs, you always want to keep it on wax. For 20 years, he was on Hot 97, basically the professional referee / mediator of any kind of hip hop battles. And we're not talking about verses, we're talking about like just legit. We're not talking about catalogs, kind of like what, say, like even Eminem would be depicted in 8 Mile when you had guys just going at each other. Always been a massive part of hip hop culture because, in the early days before it got commercialized, that's really where it was born and how it was born in our home. But, a big rest in peace to K. Slay, definitely, in my opinion, an icon of the rap game, the hip hop game, and someone who's going to be sorely missed, because, like a lot of legends, it's like you get a little older. It's like some of these guys start leaving, and it's unfortunate because you can't go back in time. You reminisce on how good it was, but you speaking of how he brought in, kind of like a gateway with newer rappers versus older rappers, bringing them all together. And I do believe that that's something that he should be appreciated and remembered for because, you take like Zach's generation, like Zach recently put me onto something that J. Cole was doing, Kendrick Lamar's dropping an album pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say that it will be sad that a guy like this won't be around to kind of even police some of this, because once again, it's not always about personal heat. A lot of times it's about competitive heat. Recent Nas album, a lot of people are speculating that he was going in on Jay-Z, kind of, and that would be a lot of fun on a versus, just to kind of weigh the two catalogs. A lot of people in New York feel that Nas won, and there's still people that feel that Jigga won. So that's kind of what makes the hip hop game so damn great. It's just, a lot of it is really up to subjectivity, all of it, and that's what makes the art so good. And you can say that about a lot of genres, but yeah. You up, Idris? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think with K Slay, he brought back the foundation of hip hop. Like, people see the verses and how these guys have these rap beefs and then guns getting pulled, and they say, yeah, hip hop was created to stop all that stuff. It wasn't created just for black kids to make money or white. It was created to stop the violence. And that's what K Slay did. Like you said, he brought people from the East Coast, from the West Coast, and to the South, and said, look, let's rock this. And you had to have your game. You just couldn't be doing da-da-da-da-da, You had to say something that made some sense. And I ask anyone who wants to hear what K Slay does, listen to 50 MCs and 100 MCs. 100 MCs is long. It's 45 minutes long. But I guarantee you will hear 100 MCs actually kicking skills all the way through. From Melly Mel, who's one of the original ones, Grandmaster Caz, everybody's in. And if you never heard about these guys, these are the foundation of hip hop.
Yeah, because one thing about hip hop is, like, a lot of stuff has always been passed and borrowed. There's no Biggie Smalls if there's no Heavy D.
Exactly.
There's no Drake if there's no Mace. And the list goes on.
There's no Jay-Z without Big Daddy Kane.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the list goes on. But he's gonna be missed, and I definitely felt like it was appropriate. Give him his flowers. We're gonna get into sports side of this. We're gonna keep it in New York for a second. Got some takeaways from the young MLB season. Zach, your Pirates are still not very good.
No, they're not. They never
I hate to say it, they haven't really been good since they had Barry Bonds when he was skinny, before he was taking those vitamins.
Yeah,
but
the We Are Family days.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you gotta go back. Yeah, that's you gotta go back. But I'm not overly surprised with what I've seen. I've seen a lot of inconsistencies. Inconsistencies in the sense of, like, everybody's on an even playing field when the season starts, and especially in a season that almost didn't happen. For instance, our team, the New York Yankees, up until today, were on the field, or in a position to be on the field, for 10 straight days. That's very taxing. They're off to a 5-5 start. Kind of a continuation of last year. Frustrating. They have the best team ERA with the pitching staff over the course of the year, but they're not able to hit with runners in scoring position still. And they are essentially a 500 team. Dodgers, who spent all kinds of money. If you're playing MLB The Show, it would be the equivalent of just turning the budget off. I mean, they spent a ton of money. They're 7-2. Team that had the best record in baseball. Their rivals, San Francisco Giants, they're 7-2. New York Mets are a bit of a story, off to a good start. I have to give them their due, even though I'm a Yankee fan. But the one thing that I do see that's circular around the league is just that I feel that with the limited amount of spring training time, guys are not in game shape. And I do believe that a lot of teams are going analytics, like the Moneyball movie. A lot of sports have taken this route, even with the NBA, with giving guys rest days and rest minutes and kind of monitoring a lot of this stuff. But a lot of it goes into the sports science angle of it. But so far, can't necessarily say that I'm surprised about anything. Usually pitchers come in, their velocity's down. And a lot of teams that are driven by the long ball are not hitting with runners on. Our team, unfortunately, is built like that. I don't want to be negative, but I do feel that the Yankees are looking at a very mediocre situation. It's only 10 games in, and I'm not saying they can't be a playoff team. I just don't see what they currently have as championship pedigree, but, we have time to figure that out. Is there anything you want to add to the baseball side of this, or kind of a little early, right?
Oh, Zach can go first.
I mean, I don't think I'm not huge on baseball. I don't know a whole lot. I would say that I feel like a lot right now in all sports. It seems to be a young man's league right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm starting to see a lot more younger names excel than all the older names. So it seems like a lot of sports are turning a generation right now. I think it's very interesting.
I think it's a great point you make, because in baseball, for instance, normally guys that would kick around in the minor leagues you could add 4 years to what they were doing. Now, to your point, a lot of the superstars are under the age of 24 years old, when in the old days, normally you didn't hit your peak until closer to your 30s. And a lot of that had to do with opportunity, because, you have Mickey Mantle and even guys like way before our time. It wasn't always the go-to to just push these guys out there at the youngest of ages. So, I would have to say that's like a super valid point. That's really all I got on MLB right now. The Mets look great. Jacob deGrom is not healthy, and we don't know when he's going to be. But he will be part of the Mets at some point. We'll see where it goes. And it's early, and, I'm fair. But right now the Mets are the best team in New York. But I'm not going to overreact just yet on that. I'll take it over to the NBA. I'm sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you good. You good. I'm not sold on the Mets. I'm a Yankees fan, and I don't want the Mets to win nothing. But I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to tell you why I'm not sold on the Mets. They have this type of start every year.
Right.
And by mid-season, the ship sinks. They got a big analytics team now, and they got Buck Showalter.
Yeah.
And Buck Showalter he's hard-headed. He's like to do things the old style, the old way. And I want to see how that works. Jacob deGrom, when he comes back, you know what he is. He's gonna mow him down.
They're gonna want to monitor his minutes.
Yeah, they're gonna have
minutes. I should say his pitch counts, not minutes.
Yeah, pitch counts.
Yeah,
and,
because
with the Dodgers, didn't surprise me. They spent the money, they brought the right manager in, and they have an analytics department that's like, out of this world. As for the Yankees, they're like the Mets. The Yankees start slow.
Yeah.
And then they pick up steam. The American League East is one game. Other than the Orioles, we know how they,
Yeah, they've been a thorn on our side. Yeah, they've been a thorn on our side.
Yeah, but everyone's like 5-5, and I think Toronto is like 6-4.
Yeah, so, Toronto's just ahead of the bunch. Boston's 5-4 actually. But yeah,
okay.
Everybody's pretty clustered. It's early.
And the East is tough anyway. You got the Rays. You never know. They're gonna do what they do. Boston, I can't stand them, but they're gonna do what they have to do. Toronto, I see them like the Mets. They start out and then they fade. So I want to see what happens by mid-May. Because like I said, the season, we didn't even know we were going to have a season. And maybe some of the players didn't really take it seriously. Well, we'll have a deal,
I still think they're in vacation mode. Last thing I want to say about this, I do think that the Mets could turn fate around this year, because they are built much better than they have been, and they have much better leadership. But from the analytical level, it's going to be interesting to see how an old school manager deals with that in the dog days of the summertime. Well, we're going to move it along to the NBA playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
This was a great game yesterday, man. Brooklyn Nets
It was insane.
and the Boston Celtics Zach, what'd you take from this, man? I know it was a pretty wacky finish, but what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've seen this before. I think Kyrie needs to be the star on the team by himself. It isn't working, man. We've done this before. We've seen it already.
Yeah.
Get this man on the team by himself.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love what you said. I love it. And it's simple. It's to the point, and I agree with it.
Yeah.
This guy Idris is not exactly a very big fan of Kevin Durant. If you want to elaborate on that, and then we could kind of circulate why these two are never going to win nothing together, by all means. Because then I'm going to give.
I think Kevin Durant is a very skilled player. I think he's really good. I don't like the ring chasing. Not that he started it, because he didn't.
No, he didn't start it. No,
he didn't. But I don't know. I don't like ring chasing. It makes the sport less fun,
Absolutely.
But he's a great player. I don't know. Are you thinking about the play from last night where he didn't guard Tatum?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that definitely is in my mind.
See, here's my thing.
Go ahead. I want to hear this. Go ahead.
If he doesn't guard Tatum, or if he guards Tatum, Jaylen Brown's at the top of the key. He's gonna get the ball anyways. He's in a hard position no matter what. I think rather than complaining about KD's defense, just praise the cut on Tatum because I don't know.
No, it was beautiful. I mean, you couldn't dream up any better. But exactly. The play just the other play that determined that game, and something that's going to get overlooked. When Al Horford was able to trap, and then KD got the ball in a far from ideal shot, I do believe that also was the swing point in the final moments of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, you make a great point about Kyrie, man. This has been a topic on previous shows, even when he was sitting with the COVID, and that's a personal choice, and New York was different than most places.
I could care less.
Yeah. But I gotta say, man, going back to the LeBron stuff in Cleveland, it's like two babies that are trying to get the bigger baby bottle. That's really how I viewed a lot of it.
Yeah, man. Could you imagine if the Nets had CP3 distributing the ball right now?
There might be more discipline. There might be more discipline on that team, but at the same time, that also could be a dumpster fire just for the fact that you see what happened with the Lakers. They brought in all this crazy talent.
Well, again,
I think. Okay,
you need a young team.
Yeah, certain guys
I think
are not built that way.
I think CP3 would have done better because CP3 is unselfish.
That's
he's
part
going
of
to get everyone involved.
Yeah.
He's going to get everyone involved. If he sees Durant hot, he's going to get Durant. He's going to get Durant the ball. If he sees Durant's not doing nothing, he's going to figure it out. Because I see how he does with Phoenix. Now with Kyrie, it's a shame because the guy has some skills.
Oh, he's amazing.
But that head. And that move Tatum put on him, that was classic.
Yeah.
That was classic. That was classic. He didn't even take a doot, game over. That was sweet. And see, one thing I said about Durant, great player, but I always said, and this is why I say he would not make it in the old league. Because if you put a strong body on him and they kept throwing people at Durant, dude missed 20. I mean, he shot 5 of 24. They kept going at him. And he couldn't get off. He couldn't get off. And then it's like, what do I do? And I always say, if you put, like, I've watched this guy since he played college ball. And I've noticed that if you D him up out there at the 3, he won't really try to take you inside. He's going to shoot it. So you got to body this guy up and say, look, you're going to have to go around me. And this is why I say he wouldn't make it in the 90s. Because they're going to boom, they're going to bang him. Like, you're not coming in here with that.
And the rules are so different now. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't touch him today. And last night, Boston was able to just like, look here, you're not going to just come up in here and do what you got to do. We're going to make you do what you got to do. But if you blow it, it's a wrap.
And I mean,
as for the middle finger, as for the middle finger, Kyrie need to shut up. Because here's a guy who didn't want to talk to the media, but he always had something to say to push whatever agenda. And I'm a guy. I'm for social justice, all that. But Kyrie was on some other shit. So now the crowd is out there. I've been to Boston. Boston fans are grimy. They are some of the dirtiest, grimiest fans out there. But you know what? You played up there, and you basically shit on the whole city and the team. So did you think you're gonna come back to Boston and they're gonna be like, hey, you should have known when you got on the Bucks, you was gonna get this and whatever else they had for you. So don't be crying about how they keep messing with me. Shut up. Shut up.
No, I agree. Don't set a fire if you're not willing to walk through it.
Yeah.
Like it kind of irked me. The late great Kobe Bryant when he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyrie many times called him a mentor. And I say to myself, I'm like, my dude, what did you learn from him? Because Kobe, I'm not saying Kobe would have been above possibly flicking the bird. I mean, there's a famous story about when him and Shaq mooned the Sacramento fans after beating them. That's an awesome story. But the difference between a guy like, it was funny. But the difference between a guy like Kobe and a guy like Kyrie is that Kobe had the mental aptitude to deal with getting fucked with during games like that and not being well liked by a decent portion of NBA fans during a good portion of his career. I mean, I think people started to really appreciate Kobe more so when he was towards the end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
When he was winding it down. But, outside of LA, I don't necessarily think that Kobe was beloved during his prime years with Shaq and then a little bit after Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
But
he wasn't.
I see Kyrie, and Zach said it best, like he has to play by himself because it's almost like, he doesn't want the pressure when it's all on him, but he's always bitching if it's not all on him. And it's almost like he can't really make up his mind about where his career should go or what it should be. Having said,
Chicago.
He could work in Chicago.
DeMar DeRozan, he would work.
Kyrie, I just think it's a personality thing where a lot of people just don't get along with him in team settings. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you that I don't believe he's a phenomenal talent. And then we haven't even spoken about James Harden, who recently was traded out of Brooklyn. And it was like I said this on the last show. You threw a problem to Philly. You brought in another one with Ben Simmons. And part of winning championships is not always your big three or your big dynamic duo. A lot of it is the way your benches are built. Having said all that, Brooklyn, they have a lot of storylines, and there's a lot of side stuff going on. But at the end of the day, they lost by 1 point. So they are very much alive in this series. I do expect this series to go 7. I'm going to give the Celtics. Boston is 6, huh? We'll see. I think Boston comes out on top. And I can't really say anything else around the NBA in round 1 thus far has really shocked me. If you're looking for anything, I mean, Utah beating Dallas game 1, that doesn't shock me. The Bulls are a damn good team, but unfortunately, I think they ran into the wrong team in round 1. Because I would have to say that if you're an upstart team, you do not want to play Milwaukee in round 1. And unfortunately, that's what the Bulls got on their hands. Right. The Bulls are going to be, in my opinion, the Bulls are going to be a first-round exit. But if they caught a different matchup, I think it's a different outcome. The Milwaukee Bucks, in my opinion, going back to the finals. And depending on the health of Steph Curry, who they won without, I do believe that the Warriors are going. And I don't want to see the Suns and the Bucks again because my biggest fear is that you're literally going to see a repeat of what happened last year. Except it'll happen. It won't be in 6 games this time. It might be in 4.
Hey, before we close this, the difference between Kobe and Kyrie shows you under his skin. Kobe, he just put that face on there. Like, I'm going to kill you next time.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm going to kill you next time. You shouldn't have done that. I'm going to kill you next time.
There's a short list. There's a short list of guys. There's a short list of guys that had that kind of killer mentality. You go back to the 80s, obviously Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. And it was funny how you were talking about, Boston fans are grimy. I just got done watching Winning Time. I don't know if you guys are up on that show yet, but if you're not, check it out on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's
about
good.
it's damn good, about the rise of the '80s Lakers in a time that essentially saved the NBA before Jordan took it global. But it was awesome, and I don't know who the hell's playing Larry Bird, but that dude looks just like him.
That dude looks just like he looks like a younger Bird, dude.
It's wild. I'm like, where do they find these guys? What, do they clone people?
Like I don't. He like a younger Bird, man.
Like, where do they find these guys? Even Magic Johnson's character looks like him.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly making a great Jerry Buss, which is weird because every time I see John C. Reilly, I think about like Step Brothers,
Step Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, for real.
No, but I gotta give him. I gotta say, damn good acting and very accurate.
Yeah.
And the way that they place events is pretty cool too, because quick Kobe mention again is that they showed Magic Johnson's first game in the show, and it's super accurate to what real life was. But was also interesting in the game, he played against Kobe's dad, and they zoomed into a baby Kobe who was recently born in the show, showing him in the crowd. So it's very.
It's crazy.
They really they stretch left and right on a lot of other things that go on. They add in a lot of like still humor where they will stop the show and the character will tell you what it is. Awesome show, man. And even if you're not a sports fan, definitely something that is incredibly entertaining because it really goes in on LA and just during
it's a good show.
Yeah, it's damn good.
Looking to it, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. It's funny.
But something that's not funny. We're getting serious on this, man. Thank God.
Here we go, baby.
He's ready. Now he's ready.
Hallelujah.
The NFL draft is 10 days away. My favorite sport. I look forward to this every year. Your Los Angeles Chargers picking at 17. Our New York Giants are picking at 5 and 7. Zach, let me ask you, man. 17, you got a lot of options out there. Do you have a particular player who you want?
Ooh, particular player, that's hard to say. I think being at 17 with the offseason that we had puts us in a really good position to just wait and see. Personally, I think Jordan Davis is one talent. I don't think you're going to find many people like him at the defensive tackle position that may even drop that low. But from a fan, I would just say I want to see him wait almost all 17 picks. Don't really move up. See who's there, and if it's not much, find somebody who wants your pick, and then get what you get. I mean, we're missing a second round pick, I believe. So
yes,
take that again.
You guys have a nice roster. I mean, last year you lost a heartbreaker to the Raiders, and I'll be honest, I've said this before. You guys were the better team.
I hate the Raiders.
You didn't win that day, but you guys were better than the Raiders. But Justin Herbert, early in his career, playing like he's been in the league 6-7 years already.
I think the Giants know that all too well, unfortunately, after last season's game.
I like that. I like that because this is going to come back around. And because like it or not, our teams are linked in certain aspects of history.
I don't know if I told you Idris this earlier. My entire in-laws are all Giants fans. Every single one of them, except my girlfriend, because I've converted her.
Okay, you converted her.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to let you ride on that one.
I don't know if it's a clean conversion, pal. I think that she's kind of – I think we call that keeping the peace.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that. It's a win to me, man.
We're going to come back to the Chargers in just a second. Idris, we pick at 5 and 7, but we do have our share of financial difficulties. What is your take on what the New York Giants need And what is your take on what the New York Giants should do?
We need offensive line. We need an offense. We need a tackle.
A right tackle. Yeah.
Right tackle.
Yeah.
I think we need an edge rusher. An edge rusher. We're going to need a safety because Peppers is gone.
Yes, he is.
Logan Ryans is gone.
Yeah,
Ryans is gone as well. What we need to do is Gettleman put us in a he messed us up, man. I mean,
it's shitty because it's like you get 2 top 10 picks and you feel limited in what you're able to do possibly.
I think we could flip one of those top. I think we need to keep number 5. We have to keep number 5.
Yes.
7, I think we could flip for some move down and probably grab a couple of, picks.
I'll be honest.
Another first and a second. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it just because he's a Charger fan and just because we happen to just talk about them. But I do think that the Los Angeles Chargers could actually be a trade partner with the Giants because the Giants would be moving back 10 spots. But when you consider value, and you brought up edge rusher, we also need some athleticism at linebacker. I think the Giants are in a position where you can see a couple of things happen. In the event that 2 of the top 3 offensive tackles are on the board when pick 5 comes up, I do think the Giants could move on from 5 because they might get some wacky value because this is the thing. While it's not the best quarterback class, you have a lot of teams that need somebody. And that's where the Giants could possibly take advantage. I mean, they could get cute and trade back 3 spots off of each pick. And now you're looking at all kinds of foundation for next year. But to your point, I don't think they could even risk it. You absolutely have to smash your first pick. And it has to be an offensive tackle. Me personally, there's a couple of strong suits to the top 3. I don't have the highest faith in Charles Cross. I don't think he's as polished. I think Icky brings the most upside. But I think the safe bet is Evan Neal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
don't want to lose Saquon.
No, me neither.
I think we can keep him a year. This is the one off season he doesn't have to get it together. He can rest up and prepare for the season rather than rehabbing and everything. Let's see what happens because our GM, I mean, that guy's smart, man, and I see what he's doing, bringing former Buffalo players, and he's like really patching up. He knows his first year is going to be, let's see what we got. This is you playing for your contract.
It's all about implementing what worked where he previously worked.
Right. You got to play. You're playing for your contract. If you show out, you'll be here. If you're not, you're going to be gone.
And that's how it should be on any level of football, whether it's high school, peewee, or up in the pros.
Right. And he's trying to build around Daniel Jones. And like Mara said, we failed him. Yes, you guys did fail Daniel Jones. Because the guy has talent.
Yeah.
He has talent.
For sure.
Our receivers are never healthy. Galladay, we gave him all this money. He can't stay on the field. Evan Ingram was dropping passes. Tony, he got hurt. Shepard, we lost him. Saquon wasn't quite back. I mean, the guy had really nothing to work with.
And I want to say this too, to your point. For all the people that say that Daniel Jones is trash, one thing I do know is that going into the game where he got injured, a game that we won against Philadelphia, we were only a game out, tied with quite a few teams, but only a game out of the final playoff spot. When Daniel Jones plays, the Giants have a chance to win, especially last year it was on full display. When Daniel Jones got hurt, the Giants had no chance to win.
No chance. And it showed.
It showed. They did not win a game without him. And, that's for the Thirst crew. That's for basically the casuals, that's for anybody that, because I put up a metric stat not too long ago, and I love Eli Manning, but I put up Eli's numbers versus Jones's numbers when you talking touchdowns, the interception ratio, and overall fumbles. Do you know that the differential was actually exactly the same at this point in their careers? And Eli had an O-line, he had a Pro Bowl running back, he had a tight end, and he was only 1 year removed from when he would get Plaxico Burress. Tom Coughlin's coaching the team, and you got a Hall of Fame defensive end leading the defense. And I'm just saying, it's like, I'm not saying that because Eli had a better situation, this organization owes Daniel Jones more time. But what I am saying is people have to be reasonable.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I feel like last year, not this year that he got hurt, the year before, I try to tell some of our delusional fans, as I call them, delusional fans, he had a lower interception rate than Zach Prescott and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady. Yeah. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. His turnover was dropped. When he got hurt this year, his turnover way down. I think he was like number 7. And that's like from real good to, he was
where his numbers take a hit. Where his numbers take a hit is that, and while I love what he can do with his legs, the problem is that the legs haven't been able to complement what should be the easier part of a quarterback's game, which is throwing the ball. But to your point, when you're missing this many people on the skill position side, I mean, it was a staggering stat. You're talking about maybe 5 games during the Daniel Jones era that he had all 3 of his receivers and a starting tight end and a running back. Like, that's just a given. I mean, we played football. I get it. Guys get hurt. But we've been hurt in like a substantial way for a long amount of time. Looking at this draft, I've said it before, I don't think it's quarterback driven this year, but there could be a few steals to be had. I mean, the Tom Brady draft wasn't quarterback driven, but it gave us arguably the best quarterback of all time. So that's for all the analysts that, Tom Brady's a 6th-round pick. If you know what you're doing, there's always value to be had in these drafts. But I do have a suspicion that Zach's team, the Chargers, and our team, the Giants, could legitimately be making a draft day deal. Let me ask you guys, like, a little round table on this. There's a lot of great players, and it's not always fair to say, oh, he's the best player when he plays, an end versus on an offense and he plays quarterback or whatever have you, or an offensive tackle that could be generational. But do you guys have a specific idea of one particular player that stands out in this draft that is a home run no matter who gets him, that that dude is going to be a pro from day one?
I would say Aiden Hutchinson is obviously the
gotta be the safest one to say, right? Gotta be.
I'd also say Kyle Hamilton. I think he can easily be, Derwin James or Jamal Adams type player. Linebacker, safety. What are they? Who knows? Doesn't matter.
Because that position has changed a lot. Because nowadays you have guys that, in addition to playing safety and pass protection and going downfield, running backwards, these are also guys that could just jump in there and play the mic and do it well. I mean, Jabril Peppers in Madden does that. Me and Zach talk about that just in Madden, what he does. And he's not even on the level of a Derwin James or some of these other cats that we talk about. But, Aiden Hutchinson, that's the obvious home run. Kevin Thibodeau,
sure.
I feel very good about.
I think he's also a safe pick, for sure.
And I think we could agree on this, too. It's more common that when you're that dude on defense coming into the draft and you're a top 5 pick, or I'm specifying the number 1 overall, more times than not, it's common that they're going to be the home run as opposed to an offensive player that goes number 1 overall, because there's more grooming necessary. There's more development necessary. I mean, you look at Trevor Lawrence, bro. This dude never lost a game since he was probably 8 years old or some shit. And then he goes to Jacksonville and all he did was lose. Of course, that's not all his fault. Urban Meyer had no business being in the NFL. they got a good quarterback coach now, a guy who I hate for tanking a couple of years ago, keeping us out of the playoffs. Fuck you, Doug Peterson. But the point I'm making, he's a good coach. He's a good coach, though. He's a good coach. And but it's different when you're on one side of the ball versus the other, because I feel like, when you're an offensive player, it just comes down to it. It's more nurturing involved, because especially quarterbacks. This is not a quarterback-driven draft. But having said that, I do think that certain teams are going to be trading into a position to possibly get at some of these young quarterbacks. I want to kind of go left for just a second. It's something that's annoyed me. It's something I got to get off my chest. I myself was very critical of the late Dwayne Haskins play on the field. Amongst Giants groups, I know you and I have supported the Daniel Jones move over the Dwayne Haskins move, but I want to make this very clear quickly here that the actions of Gil Brandt and Adam Schefter alike, I don't give a damn if you liked him as a player. And quite frankly, I don't give a damn if you liked him as a person. But to take cheap shots at a dead man, to me, is always a losing situation. And at the end of the day, you're talking about a son. You're talking about a new father. And you're talking about a kid who's still a kid that was really trying hard to work his ass off and to strive at something that he did since he was a very, very young guy. And I just feel that just because you post up in the media and you have a decent platform doesn't give you the right to just take a shit on somebody, especially when they're recently departed. And, it's not new news because, this tragedy happened over a week ago, but I just wanted to say that it's a big loss for the football world. And it makes me laugh to a level with the way these people think it's okay to talk like that, because you go around the league, he impacted a lot of people. And something I got to applaud this kid for is that going right into Pittsburgh, he's immediately getting involved in community work. So, it's not fair to pigeonhole somebody because of a mistake they made. And I think, or just maybe a maturity thing, or, he wasn't happy at the draft. What the fuck was he supposed to be? He lost millions of dollars at the draft. Was he supposed to do this and do a fucking backflip? I didn't want the quarterback because I didn't think he was the right quarterback for my team. Absolutely nothing to do with if we're talking about character, if we're talking about race, if we're talking about all these other things that you see on some of these wild social media posts as to why the Giants are better off with DJ as opposed to Dwayne. I just want to say rest in peace, Dwayne. Truly a tragedy. And that's another team, sadly, because, business continues to move. And that's the sad part of this, is that the Pittsburgh Steelers, who weren't in the market for a quarterback, they signed Trubisky. They were trying to nurture Haskins' talents. That's a big loss emotionally for a team, and it's also a big loss for the roster. You have to think that now perhaps they could be thinking about maybe a Malik Willis or thinking about one of these kids coming out. And it wasn't something they were thinking about 2 weeks ago, sadly, because, life happens quick.
You know what happened? Think about it. He had just signed a contract 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's very sad.
And
very sad.
To show how committed he was actually in Florida training already. We hadn't even got to the draft. He's down there getting ready for the season. So he was committed,
It's just all kinds of sad. It's all kinds of sad. And, Gil Brandt's 90 years old. I got to try to forgive him. He's old as shit. The one that I really take issue with more than him even so is Adam Schefter, because Adam Schefter didn't even so much as apologize for the ignorance. He just flat out took down the tweet like if we didn't see it. And it's just so irresponsible on so many levels. Yeah. I mean, and that's really all I got on that. But I had to make a mention. We're talking about college quarterbacks, and he's one of the greatest in his career at Ohio State. And it's something that should be remembered and should be celebrated because, we love this game. And at the college level, he was in that rare breath of some of the guys that really, because you have certain guys that ball out in college that maybe don't have the easiest transition to the pros. They find their game later in their career. A lot of it has to do with the organizations they end up with too.
Right.
And that's all I got. But rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. Just a sad situation. Is there anything else you guys want to hit on draft-wise before we take it over to the final segment? Anything that's maybe a thought in your mind, something that your team might need, something that you see down the pike, maybe somebody else doing a wacky trade?
I got two teams in both conferences that I got a feeling is going to shake things up.
Okay.
Indianapolis.
Okay.
Okay, Matt Ryan is there. Matt Ryan is still a good quarterback.
Yeah.
They got one of the best offensive lines in the league.
We did take one of their pieces.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But yeah, they have a great line. Yes, they do.
Running back, Jonathan Harris. What's his name? Harris?
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to watch out for them. And I want to call on the Redskins. Commanders. Even though Carson Wentz didn't make the playoffs last year, his numbers were good. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. His numbers were good.
Thing with Wentz, I just can't trust him in those big games.
That's the problem.
Those gotta have games. I just don't trust them.
That's the problem. I think they'll make some noise, but the big game.
I see Washington as a first half team, first half of the season. I can see them getting off to a decent start. But I don't know. I mean, time will tell. Wentz was putting up MVP numbers. Bless you. Was putting up MVP numbers prior to
right.
He was putting up MVP numbers prior to when that went down and he left town. We're approaching that 10-minute mark, so I want to hit on this final segment, my personal favorite. All right. I'm going to give you the quick rundown of start, bench, cut. Zach, I'll explain it to you first. You're new here. Get 90 seconds to sell your point. You're going to start one of these quarterbacks. You're going to bench one, and you're going to cut one. We're talking about the draft, so we're talking about the 2004 quarterback class, one of the most prolific drafts in recent memory. All right, Zach, I'm giving you 90 seconds starting now. Get at it.
Start. Big Ben. Period. All right. Most arm talent, that's there. Biggest frame there. Give him a good line so he doesn't have to run around and get hurt. He's solid. And one decent receiver is all he needs. That was the easy one.
Okay.
Ben. I won't say it. I got.
Just say it.
You know what? It's a backup, so it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna take Phil. I'm gonna take my man.
I'll figure that.
So you're benching. Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers is a good backup. I guess I would have to say Eli based on history, but I'm picking Phil.
You're a Charger fan. I can't. I guess I gotta understand that to a level. I guess. Anything else you want to add quickly, or that's the point? That's where you're sitting with it.
Oh yeah.
Cut Eli, bench Rivers, start Ben. All right, dude. Idris, you are up, pal.
Start Big Ben for the same reason Zach had. He can move around. He's hard to take down. If you got an offensive line, just even a decent offensive line, he's going to make things happen. He's going to get the ball down the field. He's going to do what he has to do. He has to start. I need someone who can take a hit, and is going to knock defenders off of him and still get that ball down there. Bench Eli. I'm going to tell you why. It's not a homer move. I have to say bench and then cut because they're going to interact. I say bench because I look at the talent Eli had around him. He had some talent, but he lost Tiki before the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He had Plaxico on one side. I think Amani Toomer on the other side. Had a decent offensive line. But can no one tell me that offensive line was a Hall of Fame line? The defense was not all that.
No, not all of them.
Yeah, they were good.
No good.
The defense was not all that good. I think they were ranked 27th in the league defensively.
Picked it up later in the year.
Right, later in the year. Up until then, I think it was averaging 25 points on offense, 26 on defense. I'm giving up 26 on defense. The second year, it was much of the same. He had Brett. I keep wanting to say Lionel Hampton, not Hampton. 27. I can't remember his name.
Brandon Jacobs.
Jacobs. Decent receivers. He had Cruz, which was a 3rd-round draft choice. Manningham. I think Hakeem Nicks. Offensive line was pretty good. But again, the defense was 17, but they picked up later on. I say cut Rivers because the talent that man had, he should have won. But when the big games came,
coaching staff.
And we had a defensive coach with Tom Coughlin. Y'all had an offensive head. I think that's why I say if you switch players, put Eli in San Diego and Phil in New York, Eli wins more than 2 Super Bowls because his durability also. I don't think Phillip does as good in New York because he didn't have the talent he had in San Diego. He didn't have it. And the NFC, it's a talent
I don't know
thing.
about that. I think Chargers struggle to keep a good head coach around for over 4 years in a row. We kept getting rid of. Oh, I know. We had many.
We never had a running back like LT. Y'all had Keenan McCardle. On defense, you had I can't think of it.
Yeah, Vincent Jackson back then, didn't they?
Mr. Lights Out, Storm Marion.
Yeah, they had.
He was great until he got Papa Peeds.
He was good until he met Tila Tequila. All right.
Yeah, that was it.
All right, check it. You both made good points. You did. Truth be told, I disagree with both of you.
At least I didn't lose this time.
You were close.
I know.
I'm benching Phillip Rivers as well. That's where I agree with you, Idris. That's where I disagree with Zach. Excuse me, I said that backwards. I'm cutting Phillip Rivers. That's where I agree with you, Idris. That's where okay, we got that. So I'm cutting Phillip Rivers. And the reason why, to Idris's point, that was too much damn talent that he was surrounded with. You have a Hall of Fame tight end. You have a Hall of Fame running back.
Don't forget the fullback.
Neil. Neil was a stud. You had the late great Shane Olivier, who paved the way for LaDainian Tomlinson to have the greatest season of any running back. That's why I gotta cut Rivers. I'm not blaming it solely on Rivers. There were other variables. 06, that's famous or infamous, if you would. Intercepting Brady, not taking a knee. They were 14-2. They should have beat everybody that year. That's shitty to lose like that.
Number 1 offense, number 1 defense.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Special teams.
Yeah, you go figure that. I'm cutting, and I'm not doing this on the homer tip, but I'm going to tell you why. The reason I cut Big Ben as opposed to Eli Manning, who would be my ultimate starter, in my opinion.
You mean bench?
Bench. I'm over here hosting the show, and because the thing is like I disagree with both of you, so I'm trying to figure out why I disagree with both of you.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. The reason why I'm benching Ben Roethlisberger and I'm starting Eli Manning is because I feel that how the hell do you not win a Super Bowl with Antonio Brown in his prime, Le'Veon Bell in his prime, and some of those defenses that they had? The other thing and the other reason why I cannot take Ben over Eli, in the grand stage, I feel that Eli was better. Ben had played in an extra Super Bowl. He won 2 just like Eli. Neither game was he the Super Bowl MVP. And in Super Bowl 40, the best pass thrown in that game was actually by Antoine Randall L. to Hines Ward. That's why. Now, for the career, we're doing regular season. I'll be fair. I'll say that Ben has better regular season numbers. Eli took down a guy that Ben never was able to take down, Tom Brady. And if we're going to be fair, Phillip Rivers, who had 100 more times to take down Tom Brady, also couldn't do it. That is why Eli is my starter. That's my quarterback. Idris for the win. You improved to 1-1.
Finally. I had to get that donut off.
But no, I honestly, I appreciate both your points because there's shit that both of you said that I agreed with, but that's honestly why I give Idris the slight edge here. Zach, bro, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I hope you had a good time.
Good, man.
I think you did good, bro.
Yeah.
No, anytime, dude. And you know what it is?
Yeah.
I know that it's a little weird. Like you jump into this, and it's all kind of different topics and kind of just feeling out how the flow works. But very awesome of you to be with us. And you're always welcome to come back on. And, I noticed that you really got warm once we started getting on football. And there's going to be a lot more football shows coming.
Yeah.
Gonna figure out our angle for the NFL draft. That is on the horizon. I cannot wait for the NFL draft. But I think we are out. Coming soon, guys. I'm going to be having some T-shirts. As you can see, we got a new logo over Zach's.
Oh yeah, look at.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I seen it there. I'm on my phone, so I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't part of Zach's headband.
Yeah.
8 seconds, guys. We got to be out. Thank you so much. We're going to continue to talk here